Okay?
A couple questions. First off, in the response, they asked about Article 5 Convention of States. Your answer is no. Would possibly evade the Constitution. I want to know how. Since Article 5 is Article 5 of the Constitution. And then I want you to elaborate a little bit about right to work and comment on Michael's comments, because I too am a labor member, and I think it's great.
Basically, I feel that under that question regarding Article 5, by opening up this to a special convention, we open up the opportunity for lawyers to get more involved I think what would happen is the opposite of what we think would happen. How many times do we see things happen and the actual opposite takes place? So basically, I thought that would be a negative thing as opposed to a positive thing. And in regards to right to work, I hear it all the time that it will build union members, it will make unions stronger, but I have yet to see any evidence of that. And if we look maybe 3 to 5 years down the road, I think you'll see the opposite. That's all I have to say.
Next question. Does anyone else have a question of anybody?
Nope.
This is a question for Rachel. Fred, I'm a contractor, so I was affected by the Prevailing Wage Act, what might be called the Little Davis-Bacon Act in West Virginia. And that act required me to pay equipment operators $50 an hour. That's more than double what we pay a school teacher or a police officer. And I would suggest that that is morally corrupt. What's your response to that?
The prevailing wage, is that what you said? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear everything that you said. But I would probably vote to implement it back to the way it was before. Just because it's more of a union thing than anything else. But I do understand the situation. I have kind of a, I hate to say this, a neutral feeling about it. I've seen positives and I've seen negatives to it. The positive is, yes, I have heard of projects costing less money because of it. But I also feel that it would protect West Virginia jobs by implementing it back to the way it was before.
Sammy had asked to comment on that issue. If you can pass the baton down.
How are you? I know that the question wasn't directed to me, and there were two. One was on right to work and one was on prevailing wage. I will say that as far as, again, I will not be retroactive. So we will see it through in legislature to see what actually affects the business climate and if it actually helps or hurts the state of West Virginia. I will say this though, one of the things, or one of the reasons that I was very much opposed to right to work to begin with is I felt that it was intrusive. I felt that it actually obstructed the conversation between management and the employee, and I felt that there was no real way to make sure that you had a fully functioning business without having that investment in your people. So for nothing, if for nothing else, understand that that conversation between management and employee, CEO to management, I would say that that would be my biggest concern. As far as the prevailing wage, there's a few different issues with prevailing wage right now, and I understand why you would want to repeal it. There's also the issue of locality pay for teachers, and ooh, there's a lot of hands, and I'm excited. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
Well, basically,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. For
And we're not having a debate, but you got a question.
No, I do have a question.
Okay.
And, we're business people here. Do you believe in free enterprise and free markets unencumbered by government?
I do.
then how could you believe in prevailing wage? That's price fixing.
Well, and I understand that, which is why when it comes to the prevailing wage, we're gonna see it through. I see where you're coming from. I see where there is an issue as far as price fixing. I do feel, however, that when you have a tradesman that has put in their time and their effort, they should be paid for what their efforts are.
At fair market value.
Understandable. So that's where we are with that. Yes, sir.
This is a general question
Okay.
for all of you. Are you aware, I believe it's Indiana, passed right to work, and I believe union membership actually went up. Does that sound correct?
That's correct.
Second part of the question. Are you also aware that, I believe it was Morgantown, had a project bid out, estimated under prevailing wage, and I believe, I'm just off the top of my head, 2.8 million? And it came in after prevailing wage because it was actually bid out after the law took effect. 1.8 million, $1 million savings. Are any of you aware of that?
Yep. Press release.
Can I comment too on prevailing wage?
And Mr. Frankenberry, that brings this in for question.
And thank you, Lee, for that question. I am a contractor, and probably of anyone that's sitting up here today, I had the most to lose for voting for repeal prevailing wage. I've led a good life bidding only against a few contractors in my time. And keep in mind, the prevailing wage is a mandated government wage rate. It's an artificially inflated wage rate. It does not represent the market wage. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are a true believer of free markets and free enterprise, then you're going to support what we did. This is a taxpayer issue. It's a day of redemption for the taxpayer. The taxpayer will save money, and we are very excited to move this state forward in a pro-growth solution.
I got Mr. Frankenberry and then John Overton.
My question is to two of the delegates that are in the room, only one at the table, but they were co-sponsors on a bill that would have been very detrimental to us at this point in time had it even reached the floor, much less passed. How would you explain House Bill 2168 that you were both co-sponsors on, as was one other who's not here and is not running? How would you have handled the response for the flooding in southern West Virginia had that bill made it to the floor and or passed?
Explain what the bill is. Most people don't.
Well, I was going to let them figure out what it was.
Well, wait, we're not asking
They
questions.
know. House Bill 2168 would have eliminated the West Virginia and Army National Guard from the state of West Virginia. Believe me, if that had passed, and I talked to the Adjutant General and the former Adjutant General, had that passed, there would have been 7,000 Army and Air National Guard people no longer in the state of West Virginia, and there would have been no equipment and no supplies being hauled to Charleston because there would have been no federal equipment in the state of West Virginia.
I'm going to shut this down. We're not asking questions of other people in the audience. If anyone up here wants to comment on that, they can. No, Mike. Not
He
going to do
defers
that.
to me
You're
because he
all
doesn't even
right.
know what the bill's about.
John?
I have a question as well. I mean, we actually have 1,000 bills that are introduced every year, and for us to know what each one is would be pretty hard to do. My question is, I was intrigued by the answers on this, especially Barbara Frankenberry. I was intrigued by your comment about if over time the bill is found to be good, then we want to keep it. If not, then we don't want to keep it. I mean, I'd love to be able to, I think we all would love to be able to vote on bills that way, where in hindsight we can tell. But if you had been in Charleston and with the right to work bill and the prevailing wage rate bill, those bills, we don't really have a 2 or 3 year track record because of that, because they just went into effect months ago. But if you had been in Charleston, from your understanding of those issues and your views on those issues, how would you have voted on both right to work and the prevailing wage rate reform repeal, where we're eliminating the $42 an hour for the flag and wages and benefits?
Delegate Overton, I was not there, so hindsight is better at this time. I can't tell you, I would have to have been there and listened to all the arguments, all the materials that were presented. And I think that's what everybody needs to realize. You have to have an open mind when you're sent to Charleston, not have a preconceived idea of what is going to happen before it does. That's why I stated that I am willing to see how it will play out before taking any action. I was asked, if elected, what would you try to do away with first? I'm not going there with a gauntlet to try to do away with things. So I'm ready to listen. I have an open mind, and I always believe in never stop learning. And in order to learn, you've got to keep an open mind and listen to other people. So I don't know. I don't know how I would have voted, but I'd like to hear all of it and have the opportunity to be in Charleston to do that. Thank you.
This gentleman back here we have time for one more question.
Yeah, just a quick question, interesting commentary. Maybe we start left to right. If each one of you could maybe identify a tax that you find to be perhaps most onerous and on businesses specifically in the Eastern Panhandle, and how you would address it, whether it's equipment, franchise, whatever it might be, or inventory. If you could each, maybe one of y'all talk about that, I mean, since this is a business forum, and maybe discuss that a little bit.
You want everybody to respond if they want?
Well, I mean, maybe they could, I mean...
You're wanting to know what's the one tax that they would either eliminate or
Yes.
reform,
Yes,
if they had one.
if they had one.
Make it sweet, short.
I can do that. Thank you, Riley, for the question. Personal property tax on equipment and machinery. Get it out. That's the single biggest hindrance on job creation and maintaining those that are in the state right now.
Mine would be pretty similar. I'd reduce the taxes on the machinery, but not inventory.
I'm actually going to take a different route. The personal income tax actually would yield your greatest economic recovery by collapsing and reducing the personal income tax brackets.
Quite honestly, doing away with personal income tax, how are we going to have revenue in order to pay for our bills? Let's think about it. Without taxes, we're not sustaining.
Which tax?
So I have none right now because I don't have a business. So I can't say that I would choose anyone at this point. But once I get to Charleston and I hear some of the concerns and listen to my people in the 64th district, then maybe I'll have one.
I would eliminate the taxes on equipment, machinery, and inventory, simply because over the last 4 years, I've had an opportunity to go around and talk to different business owners. And small business owners are just being crushed by these taxes. They're paying taxes on inventory before it's even sold. Someone who has a small lawn care business has to pay, taxes on their little bobcats and everything that they own every single year, regardless of the current business climate. So I would definitely like to eliminate those taxes. Thank you.
Actually, we just had this conversation with a few business owners a few days ago, and they did say that the personal property tax was the one that was the most upsetting to them. I do have to agree with Barbie, though. There are certain taxes that are necessary because we need to generate sustainable revenue. But that being said, personal property.